Jason Tatum on the floor. Porziņģis with the step back three, and yet we got a $20 million center in Luke Cornet. Jaylen Brown, full court sprint, fast breakdown, crowds lit. Derek White with the lockdown D. Every game feels like history. Highlights, reaction, all season long. Your Celtics source with the intro song. Big takes, play-by-play and analysis. Sit back and relax, you don't wanna miss.
Well, the New York Knicks got their game on the Celtics shooting basically an over from 3, 15 of 60, 25%. That's not going to happen again. Jalen Brunson, yeah, he was good down the stretch, but really it came down to just the Celtics just inability to put the ball in the basket. The game started with the Celtics getting easy points out in transition. Jason Tatum had 13 points in the first half. But, the Celtics started as the game went on to miss, lots of easy bunnies at the rim. Kristaps Porziņģis, scoreless in the entire game, only plays the first half. In the locker room, stays in the locker room after the game, and apparently he has some sort of sickness, some sort of illness. That's been a problem for him all season. So, hopefully he can get back on the court in game 2. Sam Hauser goes down after a really bad foul on OG Anunoby where, their knees collide and Sam Hauser just lands gingerly on that knee. So he goes to the locker room halfway through the third quarter, and, just two guys that could provide some sort of offense because the defense just wasn't the problem in this game. The Celtics, they started early in the first half doing a lot of, Hacker Robinson, as I'm calling it, just fouling Mitchell Robinson because he's not a great free throw shooter. In fact, in this game, he actually went 3 of 10 from the line. So, they did that as much as they could. Eventually, Tom Thibodeau took him off the court, so they couldn't continue to do that because it was working in the first half. If they have a 14-point lead at the half, I believe, or 16-point lead at the half, and then a 20-point lead early on in the third quarter, right? I think it helped that quick three fouls on Karl-Anthony Towns and OG Anunoby that helped to get them off the floor and allowed the Celtics to score while the Knicks had trouble scoring. But in the second half, Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson did a much better job of contesting without fouling. The Celtics went ice cold from 3, as I said before. A lot of standing around, and we've seen this story before. That's what happens when when the Celtics go cold and they're not finding any other ways to get out and score baskets, maybe in the paint, even in transition. The rebounding problem was huge in this game. Josh Hart, I don't know. Let's see. The Celtics were out rebounded. The Knicks had 49 rebounds, and the Celtics had 59 rebounds. But in terms of offensive rebounds, Celtics 19, Knicks 12. So they won the rebounding overall, but it felt like at key times, Josh Hart would come up with a huge rebound and a kick out to a guy like Jalen Brunson or Karl-Anthony Towns to knock down a shot. Basically, that third quarter to get that lead, it was pretty much suffocating defense on Karl-Anthony Towns. You could see him complaining. He was frustrated with some of the calls that were not going his way. But then halfway through the third, I don't know what happened, but just everything changed. I don't know if it was just the Celtics missing shots and the Knicks making shots, because there had to be something else. Maybe stylistically, the Celtics weren't attacking. Actually, you know what I think it was? I think it was just some great defense from Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns. You know, in the first half, they were not able to stay in front of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. In the second half, they found a way to step up and basically clamp down those two. Jason Tatum, 7 for 23, 4 of 15. Shot the most. Nope, Derek White shot the most on the team. Derek White, 5 of 16. He had a big three late in the fourth quarter, as he always does, because he's always clutch in the fourth quarter. A huge offensive rebound as well to kick out for or a huge rebound to then call a timeout and give the Celtics one last chance to score before it went to overtime. But just the two of them, 1 of 10 for Jaylen Brown. What else? 2 of 7 from Holiday. So, like, I don't think I don't think this will happen again. Just because there's no way they can shoot 25% again. If they make 3 more shots, one more shot. This isn't even a game because they win in regulation. 2 more shots. This is a 6-point game instead of them losing by 3 in overtime. So, like, I think, the Celtics go into game 2 with the same style and just hope that they make more shots. Yes, you need to find a way when they aren't making shots to get into the paint. And the Knicks knew they weren't making shots, and they just packed the paint and basically dared the Celtics to shoot a lot of open threes in that fourth quarter. And it worked. Normally that doesn't work, but when you're that cold, the Knicks could count on the Celtics missing. So I'm not worried about this game. I'm still saying maybe it's now going to have to be, Celtics in 6, just because I think there'll be another game where the Knicks, where Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns could take over a game, even with the Celtics shooting better. But still, I don't think this is going to be a close series. If the Celtics can just knock down a couple more shots, which I expect them to do in game 2. Just, what else from this game really sticks out? I think you have to, you're worried. Obviously, you're worried for Kristaps Porziņģis and Sam Hauser. You maybe don't need them in this series. You definitely need them in the Eastern Conference Finals and in the NBA Finals. Kristaps Porziņģis, he had a bad round 1 series. He was on pace to having a bad game 2 or round 2 series, at least in game 1 tonight. And then he goes down with this sickness and doesn't come out of the locker room. Hopefully it's not one of those things that keeps him out for like 2.5 weeks, like it did for that injury back in March. But Jaylen Brown was great in the paint tonight. 23 points. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown combined for 46. Each have 23. Again, the poor shooting. High minutes as well, right? 45 minutes. Obviously, that does include the overtime, so that takes up your minutes by 5. Mikal Bridges, talk about just being the ultimate, basically health, resilience, right? He plays 51 minutes. That is all but 2 minutes in the in regulation, right? If you count the 5 minutes for overtime, just crazy. When you think of, obviously we know Tom Thibodeau is huge on playing his starters almost the entire game, right? He only goes, yes, he plays Mitchell Robinson and Miles McBride big minutes, but that was just because Karl-Anthony Towns was in foul trouble along with Jalen Brunson early in that first half. Right, the 2 other guys, Cameron Payne, Precious Achiuwa, just played 5 minutes and 3 minutes, respectively. So, I'm gonna wrap it up here. I'm like I said before, I'm not worried about this game. It is a rough shooting game. The Knicks, what did the Knicks shoot? The Knicks shot 45% from 3, 17 to 37. They just basically heated up in that second half, and so they come away. Celtics, they got to find ways to slow down these comebacks that every team seems to make, but the quicker the Celtics can, or the slower they can make it, um, they have a chance to hold off in these games where they cannot get anything to fall, right? Taking more time off the clock, fouling guys like Mitchell Robinson, right, to try and get free points that way. Finding any way you can to try and draw fouls. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, follow on social media. We will do a basically a deep dive into this game. I'll do it with my father tomorrow night, probably around 8:15. The stream will be, so tune into that. We'll sort of go into what went wrong in this game, how they can improve for game two. We'll make some predictions for game two, and then obviously we will be live for a reaction after game two, and highlights and everything coming out from this game and other games. So make sure to check those out. We will be doing coverage of other games around the league. And so, yeah, until next time, go Celtics.